You're about to enter the Atomic Voodoo Lounge, New Stanton's one and only surreal dive bar, bringing you beauty and magic and terahertz tragic. I'm Maxwell Vegas, writer, poet, musician, and author of the soon-to-be-published novel, New Stanton. Descend with me into the static buzz of late-night radio, where words and music swirl through neon dreams and drift like cigarette smoke out over dried-up prehistoric seas. Tonight, the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast and Heavy Sixer Productions are proud to present Rattled Bones Still Echo from Atlantis by Barry Wood. If you know anything about the Atomic Voodoo Lounge, you know we like to play around with pieces of fiction, poetry, and music that slip genres. Rattled Bones Still Echo from Atlantis certainly does that. It's part fortune-telling, part short fiction, and all about Maxwell Vegas? Rattled Bones Still Echo from Atlantis by Barry Wood. A Bones Tell reading for Maxwell Vegas. The setup. I was to meet Laszlo in Atlantis, not the lost mythical civilization, an Italian-Greek joint tucked away in a shabby strip mall on the edge of town. Truth be told, the real reason I agreed to meet him faded as I approached the restaurant. Yeah, he enjoyed the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast and the world I created around it, but so what? Maybe it was a setup, a way of luring me into a web of indebtedness, and I, one Mr. Maxwell Vegas, followed my own egotistical desires like some chump, a pawn, being led by the nose. So be it, I thought, as I reached for the door. I was here to get my bones rattled, so to speak, and perhaps learn something, for better or worse. Welcome to Atlantis. Please wait to be seated. Upon opening the door, a shadowy figure in an overcoat bolted past, almost knocking me into the umbrella stand. And in that split second, his eyes, disoriented and wild, like those of a noctambulist awoken mid-step, fell on mine before he disappeared. Just one? The hostess asked, cocking her head slightly. What the? Centering myself, I smoothed my coat. Sorry, I'm here to meet someone. A man named Laszlo. Follow me, she said with a solemn nod, and led me into the artificial dark, my eyes struggling to adjust from the noon sun. No lunchtime rush seemed odd for a weekday, even in this corner of town, but maybe that was part of Laszlo's plan, why he picked Atlantis. The place was something out of the 60s, all mid-century decor, and from the looks of it, so were the waitresses, except they hadn't aged as well. Hell, except for the occasional glow of a phone screen, you'd be hard-pressed to guess what decade it actually was. Thomas Laszlo. My journey through the Stygian dining room ended at a circular booth inhabited by a lone figure. Late 50s or early 60s, wavy brown hair thinning on top. His navy blue Henley shirt with a white tee underneath gave him a relaxed, layered appearance as he held forth a cup of coffee in greeting. Maxwell. Hello, I'm Laszlo. Thomas Laszlo. So wonderful to meet you at last. He stood, his deep eyes with their glinting whites and chocolate brown irises penetrated me as he held out his hand. We shook, his grip firm but not overpowering. Please, have a seat, he said, gesturing. I trust you had no difficulty getting here? I wrestled my coat off and placed it next to me before ordering coffee and a slice of homemade apple pie. Smooth sailing, really, I said. That is, until some guy in an overcoat almost knocked me over as I came through the door. Tuffy. Oh, Laszlo said. That was Tuffy, a regular, interesting character. Jeffrey Tuffington, retired MIT professor of physics. Kinda lost it several years ago when his wife suddenly passed. He's been obsessed lately with resets and parallel realities. That's so, I said. He sipped his coffee. Tuffy believes a major global event, one that could destroy mankind, did in fact happen. But some intervening force created a reset of sorts that shifted everyone to an alternate reality. He believes it happened on January 24th, 1961. Do you know what happened on that date, Maxwell? I shook my head, looked around for a waitress, and then stared into my cup. On that date, Mr. Vegas, we apparently came close to nuclear annihilation near Goldsboro, North Carolina, of all places. Oh, it was an intense moment in the Cold War, and our government had the bright idea of flying B-52 bombers carrying nuclear payloads in the skies 24/7. He shot me a wry smile and lifted his cup. What could go wrong, huh? After a contemplative sip, he said, well, something did. One of those bombers experienced a severe fuel leak, and while trying to land, broke apart at about 8,000 feet. It carried 2 nuclear bombs. One landed safely via parachute. The other, Laszlo set his cup down and turned it slightly. Its parachute failed, and it slammed into a muddy field in Faro, North Carolina at roughly 700 miles per hour, disintegrated on impact. Looking up from his drink, he curled his lips. Ironically, the bomb that landed safely posed the real danger. 3 of its 4 safety mechanisms failed. Now get this. The only reason we are here right now having this conversation is because the 4th mechanism, a low-voltage manual switch, worked. Well, Jeffrey Tuffington, Tuffy, believes there is more to it, a more fascinating reason we're all still here. He contends that bomb detonated and set off a chain reaction leading to a global catastrophe. Fortunately, a reset occurred. I know, Maxwell, you're going to ask who or what intervened. I have no idea. But Tuffy was in a rush to leave today because he was close to figuring out when the next event will occur. You really believe that? I asked, picking up my empty glass. Maybe. He shook his head. What do I know about quantum physics? The waitress brought more coffee and my slice of apple pie on a serving tray. Ah, Laszlo said, a favorite of many Atlantis regulars. And I soon knew why. Of Dice and Men, the Bones Tell Oracle. The waitress came by and refilled my water glass, but oddly left Laszlo's empty. Well, let's get to it, shall we? Laszlo asked. You've come with a question, I believe. I did, I said. I have many, but there's one, given this juncture in my life, that takes precedence. Laszlo smiled. His brown irises deepened even further as he nodded an invitation. I have this universe I created around the Atomic Voodoo Lounge. But you know what's interesting? New Stanton came first. I wrote the first draft 10 years ago. The Atomic Voodoo Lounge was called the AMS back then. My wife and I brainstormed the name Atomic Voodoo Lounge sitting on our deck one summer in an attempt to create a mid-century magical bar. Maxwell. Yes? Your question? Right, sorry. Now that the novel is in its final form and about to be published, I'd really like to know what I can do to make New Stanton a success. Every writer wants their baby to be successful. But I'm feeling a bit behind the eight ball here, if you know what I mean, with my age and all. That is a well-phrased question, Laszlo said. Empowering and helpful. I must often spend considerable time and consume much too much coffee guiding clients and crafting their questions. They want answers without effort. But you, Maxwell, put the onus on yourself as the hand of fortune. I like that. Laszlo moved his coffee cup to one side and spread a cloth napkin on the table, smoothing it with careful hands. Then reaching into his coat pocket, he produced a black Crown Royal drawstring bag, its crushed velvet somehow symbolic and comforting in the Atlantis dims. He loosened the drawstring and poured the contents into his empty water glass. 8 oddly shaped dice. Their only similarity to actual dice were their solid white color, no spots, just digits, each die carved with a different number of sides. If I were shooting craps with Salvatore Dali in a back alley, these would be the bones we'd throw against surreal walls and melting clocks. I pointed to a lone black die with white numbers mixed in with the others. That, my friend, Laszlo said, is an extra 10-sided die, which I'll need to be able to tell apart from the rest. Each one of these beauties holds some facet of insight about your question. He rattled the dice, and for a moment, they became the characters from New Stanton, swirling, tumbling, about to be thrown onto paper for others' voyeuristic pleasures. Some say that every story an author writes is a confession. Others say confession is good for the soul. For me, there was no turning back. The dice scattered on the napkin, and Laszlo inspected them like a detective working a crime scene. Picking up the most normal-looking die in the bunch, he said, "This 4-sided die represents the surrounding energy of the situation. Number 4, Earth. Earth represents the novel's structural foundation." And so, the reading began, each die revealing yet another aspect of my question, a jigsaw puzzle of numbers and words slowly emerging into a complete picture. Laszlo spent more time on some die than others. I had to hold my tongue. There was so much I wanted to say, yet I needed to let the whole thing play out, savor every word. While some statements were familiar actions I had already taken or planned on taking, it was validating to see and hear them played out before me, and what I was afraid of learning about New Stanton turned out to be positive and hopeful, and somehow, through the whole thing, my apple pie disappeared, the fork on the crumb-filled plate tired and lonely. After some post-reading chit-chat, we went our separate ways, my mind filled with ideas and possibilities as I exited Atlantis and walked through the strip mall's lot. Tuffy, dream realms, and timeline jumps. As fate would have it, I found myself in the vicinity of Atlantis a few weeks later. I needed to get an old amp fixed and decided to stop by and pick up a slice of that homemade apple pie. Thought maybe I'd run into Laszlo, that Atlantis regular extraordinaire. However, looking around the strip mall, I didn't see the restaurant. I did a double take, unsure if I parked in a different spot or something. Come on, the strip mall isn't that big, I mumbled, scanning the property. 2 guys were talking outside the Starbucks at the corner. "Excuse me, you know where Atlantis is?" I asked. "Yeah," one man said. "It was over there." He pointed to where I thought it was. "Closed up about 5 years ago. Couldn't survive the pandemic, I guess." But too bad, it was a fixture in the community. He looked to his buddy for confirmation. "Lasted close to 40 years. "Thanks," I said, shaking my head, confused, and walked over to where I swear it was less than a month ago. Pressing my face against the window, I peered into a shiny, new retro diner. Chrome counters, chrome-edged booths with tabletop jukeboxes, all in a sickening bright yellow decor. Just then, I caught a glimpse of a face bearing the disoriented look of a sleepwalker awakened at the wrong time. But it wasn't Tuffy's face. It was much more familiar. Back in my car, I Googled the restaurant and found an article dated January 17th, 2021, explaining that Atlantis was yet another casualty of COVID. A quote from the owner stated that the restaurant would close for good on January 24th. My mind swirled. Wasn't that the date Laszlo told me about the nuclear bomb mishap? I Googled that too. January 24th, 1961, exactly 60 years to the day. Maybe Tuffy was onto something. I started the car and pulled out of the strip mall's lot. No slice of apple pie, just a dream that once lived in Atlantis. Barry Wood resides in the Washington, D.C. area and has been a professional magician for most of his adult life. He also provides tarot readings, among other various oracles, under the name Thomas Laszlo for clients both locally and over the internet. Rattled Bones Still Echo from Atlantis was included in Season 2, Episode 1 of the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast. If you liked what you heard, please visit atomicvoodoolounge.com or search the Atomic Voodoo Lounge on your favorite podcast app or service. Thanks for listening, and please spread the word about the Atomic Voodoo Lounge's mix of speculative noir poetry, fiction, and spoken word. In addition to the words, the AVL also has the beat. We play a variety of mood-inducing music, including surf, exotica, jazz, blues, and more. Speaking of music, the tune underneath Rattled Bones Still Echo from Atlantis comes courtesy of Attribution 4.0 license. That was Jazz Music Loop by Nico Sardas. You can find that on freesound.org. The Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast is copyright 2026 by Heavy Sixer Productions, LLC, all rights reserved. Remember, AtomicVoodooLounge.com.